Good morning, everyone. This is Kent wishing you a good morning. And you just heard the message that the meeting is being recorded. If you've not seen this before, just click on the continue. And in the recording, the names are not visible. And if you do not want your face to appear on any video, just click on your stop video and you can still enjoy and participate in the service. It's good to be with you this morning, and I think we will begin our service now.
Oh, I can't do that either.
Before we begin this morning, I have a couple of brief announcements. One is if you would like to share pictures of you or your family playing, either outside or inside or in any season, please email them to me to put in a special video for next week. The theme of this month is play. I would also like to mention that in one video today, there are some images that are not overly graphic, but could be troubling. So just be aware that that could happen when we start looking at the history of Juneteenth today, which is the topic of our service. Juneteenth is next Saturday on the 19th of June. And this service is to celebrate and to look into why Juneteenth and how we can engage. It's good to have you here this morning.
And good morning and welcome. My name is Chris McClure, and I serve on your fellowship board of directors. I want to thank you all for being here today and extend a special welcome to any visitors with us. Please stay on after the service for our virtual coffee hour in small breakout rooms, where you may introduce yourself if you are comfortable and join in conversation. In response to improving pandemic conditions, CDC guidelines, and the recommendation of our regathering task force, your fellowship board voted last Wednesday to welcome small groups, 10 people or less, fellowship committees, and affinity groups to access the building starting July 1st. Using the pre-pandemic process, groups can schedule an on-site meeting through the office. Access codes will be provided when a reservation has been completed. Masking and social distancing are recommended. While individuals may bring beverage containers, having foods at meetings is not an option until the CDC guidelines change. The kitchen being temporarily closed will be superseded by the joy of seeing community members face to face after so many months. We are part of a Sunday service collaborative during July and August, and will continue to offer streaming Sunday programming through the end of August. If the pandemic conditions remain stable or continue to improve, we are hopeful to return to gathering in Fellowship Hall in September. We will offer both on-site and streaming services. While it's been hard to remain apart for so long, we remain committed to providing a safe environment for all who call our fellowship home. We are excited by the possibility of seeing each other in person again soon. So, on behalf of a caring, nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to this sacred space. Here we invite you into an experience of transformation, hope, and renewal and connections, which may inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Chris. As we begin our service, I invite you to take a deep breath and hear the chime, which we will ring once to wake the chime, once to open our minds, and once to open our hearts. And with a deep breath, I invite you to be drawn into this time together.
In the world of the driven, let us be drawn in. Let your love be a given, let us be drawn in. To imagine, to dream, to create, to redeem, for the sake of the living, let us be drawn in.
Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise.
In the world of the driven, let us be drawn in. Let your love be a given, let us be drawn in. To imagine, to dream, to create, to redeem, for the sake of the living, let us be drawn in.
Our opening song this morning is We Are Gathered by Amanda Udis Kessler. It's a familiar tune to you with words that she wrote especially for this time that we gather in sacred virtual space. The words are provided. I invite you to sing along.
We are gathered in the Spirit, our bodies are all part, filled with joy and touched with wonder, separate hands but mingled hearts, giving thanks and singing praises for the love that calls us on from our many different places. We are gathered into one. We are gathered in our sorrow. We are gathered in our fear, in our pain and in our worry, in our anger and our tears, as we tend to one another with our gifts and with our care. Our community is strengthened through the faith and hope we share. We are gathered in commitment to
the world and heal our souls. As our voices join together, may our song of peace resound. May we offer in abundance all the grace that we have found.
The June offertory recipient is the Ames High School Prairie. Ames High Prairie and Pole Memorial Preserve compose one of the only areas in the state of Iowa that tall grass prairie remnants are found in the middle of a city. This ideal outdoor laboratory is used by Ames High School students, Iowa State University, and the greater Ames community. The prairie features more than 100 plant species and is home to 100 species of birds and butterflies. Thank you for your generous gifts to support the Ames High School Prairie, which you may do at the end of the service by going to the UUFA website, look for the Giving tab at the top of the page, and share your generosity. Again, we thank you. The time for all ages this morning is called All Different Now, Juneteenth, the First Day of Freedom by Angela Johnson.
All Different Now, Juneteenth, the First Day of Freedom. Written by Angela Johnson, illustrated by E.B. Lewis. A literally cultured read aloud. A June morning breeze off the port blew the smell of honeysuckle past the fields, across the yard, and into our room to wake us. And nobody knew, as we ate a little, talked a little, and headed to the fields as the sun was rising, that soon it would be all different. Then we worked, and worked, and worked some more, under the hot Texas sun. Until word spread from the port to town, through the countryside, and into the fields, that a Union general had read from a balcony that we were all now and forever free, and things would be all different now. I watched as my Aunt Laura sang as she held her baby. Mr. Jake, who some say was 100, cried quietly. And a group of grown people bowed their heads and whispered things to each other I could not hear. My mama held my hand softly and looked beyond, as another breeze blew over and everything fell to a hush. But later, Papa, Mama, the aunts and uncles, and all of my cousins had an afternoon picnic by the water. My baby brother crawled around our blanket as we listened to the sounds of the waves. And as more people joined us, we ate as a free people, laughed as free people, and told stories as free people, on into the night. What was before would be no more. As we walked back home, the cool of the night soothed our tired feet that padded quietly past the shadowy fields of cotton. And in the morning, the smell of honeysuckle will wake me again, beside my sisters and brother, to a time that will be, for all of us, all different now.
And that is our time for all ages. This morning, we're going to listen and sing together the full length, This Little Light of Mine, with Odetta.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Yes, there's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. May we know that together. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All in my room, I'm gonna let it shine. All in my room, I'm gonna let it shine. All in my room, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine,
Let it shine, let it shine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine,
This little light of mine,
I'm gonna let it shine.
this little light of mine,
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light, this light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, shine, shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Each week, we take time in our service to share milestones, significant things that are happening in our lives that are bringing us joy, a challenge, or gratitude. As I open the room to sharing, you're welcome to unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and share your milestone, letting us know when you're finished so that with the time lag, even though we might overlap a little now and then, we'll just continue to be patient with one another until everyone is heard. This is our time of sharing. I'd like to start this morning by lighting a virtual candle for the Ames Community School District, which last week was awarded 2 character awards by Drake University. The Ray Center at Drake University recognizes Iowans who show 6 pillars of character counts. And the school district was awarded this for their Black Lives Matter curriculum for 2 weeks, which is a wonderful recognition for the school. They also, the Educator of Character Award was granted to Jonas Michael, who is the Ames Middle School principal. We're very proud of our community, especially in the face of the legislature banning critical race theory education in schools. We will find our way because it makes a difference and it's important to keep that candle burning bright. I'm finished.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt in Oklahoma City. Every once in a while, I've given you an update on my my seminary status and development in my pastoral formation, and I'm excited to share that I'm preparing for my first UU General Assembly coming up, and I've been studying up on the issues that we're likely to be facing at the General Assembly. And as a relative newbie, I'm delighted to feel that I'm learning to share my gifts and my medicine to a community that has become incredibly important to me. And I'm feeling really great about classes starting on September 14th, and I'm starting to choose my courses at Iliff Theological Seminary. And I just wanted you all to know that as I choose my classes, I'm going to be thinking of you and the community and ways that I may be able to be of service along the way. So thank you so much for all of your love and support for my wonderful new path. Thank you for sharing breath with me.
I'm Kay Berger. I would like to thank everyone at the fellowship for your caring in the loss of my twin sister on the 5th of June, and made it to Lincoln, Nebraska, where she was, and my other sister and all of our relatives were there. And I had the honor of being there with her daughter and my sister as she breathed her last breath. And she went peacefully and quietly, and I would like to thank the fellowship for caring for me through this. And I'm doing well now. Roger and I drove back. It was sorrowful, but it was an experience I'm glad I was able to have. Thank you very much. I'm through.
Hi, everybody. This is Ronnie Kahn. And last week, I was in Portland visiting with my kids for the first time in a year and a half. And it was amazing. And I also got to do a Zoom call with my cousin in Massachusetts, who I haven't seen for 30 years. And I also got to do an in-person visit in a park with a cousin on the other side of the family, with someone I had not seen for 50 years. And it just was an amazing visit. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you for listening.
And I will be at the Hilton Coliseum.
Kitty, your microphone cut out. And if you could put your milestone in chat, we will celebrate, because we want to know when you're going to be at the Coliseum. Are there any final milestones this morning? For those milestones that have been spoken aloud, and for those that we carry in our hearts silently with care, know that whatever you're carrying today, whatever brought you to be in this virtual sacred space, if you're in this community today at this moment, you don't need to make the journey alone, and you are loved. Let's be together in a moment of silence. It is good to be together. This morning, we'll watch a short video called Why All Americans Should Honor Juneteenth. We will be running the captions with this video, but know that there are a few short recordings of previously enslaved people from back in the 40s, and they are hard to understand, but the video provides captions for their words. So don't be frustrated by the sound quality. But anyway, this is why all Americans should honor Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is a deeply emotional moment for enslaved people because for decades, for centuries, enslaved people prayed for, hoped for, fought for in the form of slave rebellions, running away, bought their freedom when they could. And if you read slave narratives, if you listen to spirituals from the era of slavery, you know that enslaved people longed for freedom. This was something that had been hoped for, but many believe may never come.
Then Moses promised to give thee $40 a month in faith. Well, lots of the boys say they ain't wanted. They rather go free, you know.
Being able to go wherever they wanted, being able to wonder about. For enslaved people, it was an expression of their freedom.
Well, Matt Porter was the one that along with Miss Porter, one of our white folks' neighbors. He come along, we all sitting on the fence, and the colored children come along and asked her did she want to go with him. And she said yes, she mounted one of them horses. She went on with them. I never did see her and hear tell of her no more.
When I think about Juneteenth, I think about it in the context of Emancipation Day celebrations that began January 1, 1863. They took on a whole new meaning when slavery was formally abolished after 1865. You would have had African American veterans who fought in the Civil War be prominent in these celebrations, dressed in their military garb, speeches from enslaved people, the most prominent Black politicians singing of hymns, spirituals, discussions of registering to vote. Enslaved people celebrating in public their newfound freedom was an act of resistance. Because we have to remember, slavery came to an end after a 4 years bloody Civil War. Still the bloodiest conflict in American history. Many people in the South and in the nation who did not want to see slavery abolished fought tooth and nail to block the 13th Amendment. The abolition of slavery created a huge humanitarian crisis in the South. Suddenly, 4 million people have very little means to take care of themselves, to support themselves, and do so in a really hostile environment. So the military was necessary to make sure that enslaved people got the food, the medicine, the shelter that they needed in order to survive. They're also there to protect, to the extent that that was possible, freed people from violence, from recriminations, from slaveholders, from Confederates who still hadn't given up the fight.
And I remember when the Yankees stopped here, and the Yankees stopped right on the corner of Square, and they prosecuting people, you know. We go to the ground team, and they take them, hang them over the slum. That's the punishment they got. Next time you see, they come a whole troop of Yankees, all riding horses, big guns hanging on them. And I said, Mama, where are they going? They're all going home now.
When the last federal troops leave the South, it's a signal to Southerners. The federal government wasn't going to put its might into ensuring the civil rights of Black people would be observed. You have 20, 30 years later, Black people being lynched in public, and there isn't a federal anti-lynching law to protect them. In most communities in America, there's a history of lynching and racial violence, and very few communities have marked that, commemorated that. Every decade since the end of slavery, Black people have been more educated, accrued more wealth, more status in American society. Every decade since 1865. But there's been one constant, and that constant is the presence of random racist violence. What I see in George Floyd's murder was a white police officer attempting to dominate and to subdue a black man who was not resisting, who could not resist. Even though slavery came to an end in 1865, the desire to master and dominate black bodies did not. And we have never dealt with that. These are the kinds of stark realities that are highlighted during Juneteenth. If black people's lives can be expunged through racist violence and no one is held accountable, how free are we? Are we free?
This is a special music tribute to Juneteenth, the traditional African American spiritual Deep River. We move to a contemporary slam poem by Ben Arigbe called Words for You.
American history is mandatory, but Black history is optional. Black literature, a prop for show. Look at how they've accommodated as we play along. With common outdated topics like slavery doesn't exist, it's been whited out. Well, don't I feel liberated? But I don't know freedom. Freedom. Do you know me? Am I important to you? Or just an affirmative act? Can I freely talk while still being black? And will you understand me as I speak rhythmic words that beats on your uncomfortable conscience? Listen to me, freedom, because I have words for you. Black words with a deep melanin tone that do not atone for just existing. Words that are scarred and whipped and chained only to break loose with a strong hand and a fervent prayer. Words from the past, reverb, bouncing off every corner, surrounding you. Words that are real and cannot be whited out. Because the color always bleeds through. Words with a history that is equal. So please do not try to separate it. I am not an option. I am concrete. I am finite. I am mandatory. And you deserve to know me. You deserve to know Juneteenth. And I deserve to know freedom.
Charlie Malcolm offers us a story and a song, Juneteenth.
Oh, Juneteenth, set the slaves and captives free. Oh, Juneteenth, to truly be free. Oh, Juneteenth, to progress into liberty. Oh, Juneteenth, remember what it means on June 19th. It's a well-known fact that the 4th of July is Independence Day in the red, white, and blue. But what you might not know about Independence Day is that there's not one, but two. And the other one's in June. Now I know you know about the Emancipation Proclamation signed and read by President Lincoln putting an end to slavery, but did you know that even though with this legal documentation that at least half of the nation didn't want to change a thing? And that was New Year's Day, 1863. But news didn't travel quick, and some 250,000 slaves still toiled in post-war Texas. Which brings us to Galveston Island. So 2.5 years go by, but things were as they were. Slaves are free to live their lives, but some still haven't heard. That was until that fateful day in 1865, when General Granger and the Union Army finally arrived. The Civil War has been over and the slaves are all free. Absolute equality of personal rights and property. So we celebrate this day as the end of slavery, because slavery isn't over until everyone is free. Oh, you can hear it in their voices, echoing through all the ages. It's what the moment means. Let freedom ring, and so every year we celebrate this as the end of our enslavement, as we march toward a dream of what freedom means. On June 19th. Oh, Juneteenth, set the slaves and captives free. Oh, Juneteenth, to truly be free. Oh, Juneteenth, to progress into liberty. Oh, Juneteenth, remember what it means on June 19th. On June 19th. On June 19th. Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. Next Saturday is the celebration of Juneteenth. Here we have a picture of Gimel Carvalho and Amy Hogarth. Gilmo is the first Vice President of People and Culture and Chief Diversity Officer at the Wayside Youth and Family Support Network in Framingham, Massachusetts. In 2020, she was named to the 50 most influential business people of color list by Newton Needham Metro West Regional Chamber. Amy Hogarth is Wayside's Director of Recruitment and Inclusion and co-leads Wayside's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative, committed to creating trust, training staff to have courageous conversations about race and racism, increasing social capital, and applying an equity lens to all environments using data metrics to hold leadership accountable. Gimel and Amy write this: each year, Juneteenth is a day for Black people to celebrate freedom. This year, Juneteenth carries deeper meaning in the wake of Black lives lost to police brutality in the last year. It's hard to think that freedom is on the minds or in the hearts of Americans after the murder of George Floyd and the demonstrations for liberation. Black and brown people are calling on white people to stand with them and take action. They've been fighting too hard and too long. It makes us think about what do we want white people to do to celebrate Juneteenth? We want white people to deeply consider the wound of racism on the hearts of every Black American. They ask us to consider 10 things they want white people to do to celebrate Juneteenth. When we enter the breakout room today, I encourage you to discuss which one or more of these 10 things will you consider to engage in the coming week and months ahead. On Juneteenth, we want white people to read, study Black history, Black poets, Black leaders, Black achievements. We want white people to do things about racism as readily as they do things for their own children. We want white people to make a list of resolutions, of promises, of vows about what it will take to use their power, their privilege, their platforms of power to give space to Black and brown leaders. We want them to find an accountability partner and make the list public of what actions they will take. They can do this on social media. A lot of those actions will be giving up privilege and making room for folks who they may not have noticed have no room at all. We want white people to stop talking about how uncomfortable it is to talk about racism or police violence. We want white people to stop being afraid of their own internalized white supremacy. We want them to search and look within at hard facts of thought and deed. Who cares about being comfortable? What about being true, brave, and real instead? Then we want white people to stop talking and listen to what needs to be done. We want white people to plan on spending time in spaces with folks who are not like you. We want white people to hold other white people accountable, not on social media, instead with measured voices that call folks in to look and wrestle, to change. We are interested in courageous conversations, in hearing folks out and in allowing themselves to feel terrible and to let that feeling be a crucible for change. This list, I will provide this list in the weekly email article next week if you want to review it again, because we can all, myself included, do work on this that that we can answer the request for support, for understanding, for learning, and for activism. Locally, next Saturday, Ames Black Lives Matter is celebrating Juneteenth with an afternoon of food and music that will feature Black artists and businesses. The community event will be held from noon to 6 p.m. on Saturday on Marigold Drive. Dancing, spoken word, poetry, face painting, and water balloons will also be part of the festivities. Ames Black Lives Matter organizer Joe Allen said, "We should celebrate our independence and our lives as Black people more than just 1 month of the year. This event is a way to get people pumped up, come out and celebrate the community and find ways to get involved and learn." With today's service, we have engaged a blend of history, traditional and contemporary music and poetry, liberation theology, and invitations to celebrate and respond as activists. May we continue to widen the circle of concern and live more fully into the covenant and promises of Unitarian Universalism. May it be our commitment. May it be so.
This is Mary Richards. I am going to be reading a reflection on the last song we will sing together today, Lift Every Voice and Sing. It's written by Aisha Ansano. Lift Every Voice and Sing is known as the African American National Anthem. It's a very, very powerful song, but it's often sung without context. And at times, it's sung without a lot of intentionality. When you sing, lift every voice and sing, do you pay close attention to the words? It's easy, on a Sunday morning, to open the hymnal and sing along without necessarily processing what we're saying, what the words we're saying really mean. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Bitter the chastening rod felt in the days when hope unborn had died. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. This song deserves to be sung with attention. It is a song that starkly names the horrors and violence of racism in this country. And it is a song that should make us uncomfortable. Uncomfortable with the history that it calls upon. Uncomfortable with the fact that the struggle for racial justice continues and has not come quite so far as it should have by now. How can anyone sing the words, treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, without a deep, deep discomfort? So when we sing this song, will you join me in singing with intentionality? Will you join me in the deep discomfort that I will be feeling in singing those words? Discomfort with the pain and horror that those words refer back to, and discomfort with the fact that those words do not only refer to a distant history, but also to what is happening now. Will you commit to sitting with your own discomfort? And then, will you tap into that discomfort and do something? Will you lift your voice and sing until earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty?
I invite you to join in singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, sung by the Stanford Talisman Alumni Virtual Choir.
Civil rights activist James Weldon Johnson wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing as a poem, which was set to music by his brother John Roseman Johnson in 1899. The song is now known as the Black National Anthem in America. It is a protest, a hymn, and a prayer of profound significance for our people. We lift every voice and sing to express ourselves. We lift every voice to show that we have strength in numbers and we will not be silent. We lift every voice and sing to be lifted, liberated, and free.
Freedom, the power to determine action without restraint. Freedom, the absence of or release from ties, obligations, or restrictions. Freedom, the ease or facility of movement or action. Freedom, frankness or boldness in manner or speech. Freedom, a political right. Until we are all free, none of us is free. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Lift every voice and sing
till earth and heaven ring.
Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the roaring sea. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the roaring sea.
As we extinguish the chalice, we remember there is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence every day. Thank you for being with us this morning for this special Juneteenth service. It is our 75th anniversary year, and this week I found a program cover from March 29, 1987, which opened with a Copeland fanfare and a program called Sharing Visions of the Future of the Fellowship by Reggie Greenlaw and the Long Range Planning Committee. The minister was Reverend Sidney Amara Morris, and the religious education director was Ginny Huntington. This cartoon on the cover of the program, the caption says, "I forgot who our cult actually worships, but we have a hell of a good time." I can see that back in '87, Unitarian Universalism was struggling with being perceived as a cult as much as it was when I joined before ministry. We continue to celebrate 75 years together. Again, should you wish to make a contribution to our offertory recipient, the Ames High School Prairie, or other concerns that we support, Black Lives Matter and Partner Church, please go to the UUF Ames website to the Giving tab. Thank you so much for your generosity. We'll now go into breakout rooms and then back to a large room. Thanks for being with us today.